Happy Devils Friday! This is the Let's Go Devils podcast, season 3, episode 50, a special Friday podcast. Coming to you live from our primetime radio studio somewhere in beautiful New Jersey. I hear myself in my headphones. I don't know if somebody's playing the show while they're watching or doing this podcast, but we're all powered by Nova Product Design on the Primetime Radio Network, on Facebook Live, Twitter, Periscope. We're on Zoom as well. If you want to chime in on Zoom, 450-970-7957. I'll figure out how to get you on. You better have a good question. 1 minute or less, 20 words or less. I'm here with
Keeping
Beer
it
Baron,
clean.
Shorts Guy, and Scotty from SiriusXM Liquid Metal, talking 2020 NHL Draft Lottery. I should change the entire title to 2020 NHL Draft Lottery Conspiracy Theories. Because the NHL may have a little bit of a mess on their hands. Guys, take it away.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
This is
I hate
a conspiracy of all conspiracies. Listen to me.
Stupid.
We said this off air, and I have to tell you, I was upset about it before, but the more I think about it, the more upset I get about it. Taylor Hall and the damn Coyotes are going to get the number 1 overall pick, and we all know it's true. We all know it's true.
Yeah,
it's going to screw everything up.
Why do they want Lafreniere to go to a Arizona? They don't. It's like they're angling for him to go to a top market team because I'm at a loss for words of what the NHL did. They completely screwed this up. None of the 8 teams that are placeholders should have any sort of chance for this top overall pick.
None.
I'm
That's
upset.
ridiculous.
We have 7. I'm upset we have 7th, and we didn't suck as bad as the Senators or the Red Wings this year. If I were any of those
for no reason. We sucked for no reason. I just had to say that.
Yeah, exactly.
I would be really pissed if I was a fan of either Ottawa or Detroit, because I'm pissed off as a fan of the Devils, who let's be real. For us to get a 3rd top overall pick in what was that 4 years, that was going to be out of the question. It would have been a real amazing feat. But to give this place a placeholder team, a team that's on the bubble, a bubble team doesn't need a top overall pick. They're just going to try to make a team. Someone start talking because this sucks.
Yeah, bro.
Well,
listen, right off the bat, Tim Clark Callahan, what's up?
Hey,
ahead,
there
Scotty,
are a couple teams. There are a couple teams that are pretty, weak in that probably should not have even been in this, bubble field to begin with. So I get what people are going to say. They want them to go to New York or Chicago or Toronto or something like that. But overall, I think this just kind of sucks because it didn't give us any closure on a top pick. It kind of feels like we were all gypped here. But for the Devils' case, we just
they want people to watch the play-in rounds. I mean, people were going to watch the play-in rounds anyway because they want hockey back. That was without question people were going to watch. Now they're trying to build some kind of suspense to see out of that play-in round who's going to get the first overall pick, because they got nothing to talk about. They want to get the conversation who's going to get the top 8 or that next 8 or whatever. This is so stupid.
Dude, that kind of leads into the whole conspiracy theory thing. That, I mean, first of all, you nailed it on the head about how the setup of this was ridiculous. And somebody said it in the Facebook group, and I'll have to go back and look, but as soon as they said that a mystery team has entered into the top 3, I was like, oh, God. The first thing that rang in my head was, watch, it's going to be the Rangers or some awful team. And then we talked about it, and then the Coyote theory popped up.
Yeah, we just need to hope it's not Arizona. That's what we want. Make sure it's not Arizona. Right now, we got to get as much as we can. We're pretty far down there, like 7th spot is, not great, but at least in this draft, it's pretty, stocked with talent, and it looks like we're still going to get an opportunity at either a very high quality scorer, or B, if he drops, a very high quality defenseman, and then sitting there is another, great player that we talked about actually last week when we were talking about some of the draft picks the Devils were kind of mocking up with, and that is that center Lundell. He would be kind of like slated draft pick prospect wise. He's right there as well after that. But if Drysdale happens to fall, or if Holtz or Raymond, we don't know which way. They both play wing. They're both, they're both from Sweden. They both play wing on the same team, on the same line. They're just on opposite sides. They're like,
Wait. I got a question because go ahead, Scotty. But I'll sorry.
It's okay. Well, I mean, we gotta just hope that Arizona does not get that top pick, so we can still get another first round pick here in this draft. We don't want it to defer to next year. We want to get it this year.
Here's the funny thing, and this is that somebody just brought this up, and imagine if I think it's David Holliday. He'd be pretty high, the number 1 overall pick, who's Lafreniere, or however you say his name. And now that he's not going to be a Devil, I don't care how to pronounce it. But he should be happy because his center could be McDavid, Crosby, or Matthews. So I don't know I have to look at it because if they're one of the 8 placeholder teams, how crazy would it be if Edmonton ended up with the number 1 overall pick? I mean, it's said, we're disappointed as a fan that we didn't get the number 1 overall pick, but it's just sour how it kind of ended up. But God, imagine being an Ottawa fan right now.
All right, so here
I'd be pissed.
Here are the Eastern Conference qualifying round teams. So 4 of these 8 teams are going to go. 4 of these 8 teams are going to get it. Going to be into this next one: Pittsburgh, Montreal, Carolina, the Rangers, the Islanders, Florida, Columbus, and Toronto. Those are your Eastern Conference. And here are your Western Conference. Here are your Western Conference: Edmonton, Chicago, Nashville, Arizona, Vancouver, Minnesota, Calgary, or Winnipeg. So 8 of those teams will have a chance to get a top overall pick.
Which is such garbage, dude. Like, our team's not playing for 8 months.
Yeah. And
9 months.
Teams that have a chance to win the Stanley Cup and then lose in the first play-in round are going to have a chance to get this top overall pick. A bubble team shouldn't get this player.
No.
This is true, but I will say in this case, it sucks. Don't get me wrong, it sucks. But don't worry too much, Devils fans, and we're going to go through this. We're going to have some guests. And by the way, if you want to come and talk, I'm sure you can see up there on the screen right now, there's that little Zoom room over there. We're going to take some live callers. Yeah, we're going to take some live callers, Zoom callers, video.
So
there we go.
Yeah, it's like an I'm with idiot type situation here. That's pointing.
Sam Woo's going to admit you. We got a little waiting room enabled there. So if you want to go ahead and join, we're going to start taking some of your reactions soon. But
we've left snacks in the waiting room.
There are some really good prospects, though. Like I know I sent you guys this link. I'm just looking at like the hockey news here. Alexander Holtz, Cole Perfetti, Marco Rossi, Anton Lundell. We have some good prospects in this range that, like, I think we're going to be happy with as well. Like,
here's another thing.
Don't get me wrong, it sucks. But and just like in general, like, come on,
it could be way worse.
It should be that if it was a qualifying team, they could only have gotten to like the 4th spot or something like that. They couldn't get
I agree.
3.
I agree. And here's another caveat to this of having the number 7 instead of the top 3. This also opens up the opportunity that pick might be traded. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to pick a top 7 prospect. It also could use, I don't know if Fitzgerald is going to be the long-term GM of this team, or if he's not. All things seem like it's pointing in the direction that he's going to be. So he could easily take that number 7 overall pick and flip it for somebody else. So that it kind of makes it interesting because it's not a deadlock that it's going to be like you have to pick somebody. Even though, like you said, Scotty, like there's a lot of really good talent coming out of this draft class. There's been a lot of people that have been kind of comparing this one to Zach Parisi's 2003 draft class, which was probably one of the best in the last like 20 years. So, I mean, if we can, if the cards fall the right way and Arizona gets bounced out of that first, whatever round, and they don't win this second lottery,
and they end up getting lose and then lose again. We need them to lose their round.
Exactly. We need them to lose twice. And then if we end up getting like the 7 and 10 or something like that, right? Unless somebody like Rossi, who I'm huge. Actually, if we were in the top 5, that was the guy that I was really targeting is Rossi. If we find a way to get, if he falls to 7, you go for it. But if not, then maybe we turn this pick into an NHL commodity, somebody that's already ready to play.
Yeah, and like I was saying, the simple link that I was just looking at the hockey news. All of a sudden I turned Canadian there for a second. The hockey news.
Yeah, I'm looking at the same thing.
I was just looking at the hockey news, and they had Rossi at 6. So, I mean, it's all very close. I'm sure it's going to be changed a few numbers here and there. But if you look at those top 8, I think they have Lundell as 8. Those top 7 are all just, offensive wonders. And, Lundell they seem to be, kind of projecting as like a Travis Zajac-esque type player, which always fits well in Devils. But, it'd be nice to really like drive home some more
to get a high flyer.
That defense, that's where we really feel we need that help.
And there's a Russian goalie listed at 10th overall.
Oh, yeah. And he has been touted as being a very, very high-end prospect. So, I mean, there's a lot of, like you said, like there's a ton of talent in the beginning of this draft. And it's going to be super interesting to see where all these cards fall. So I guess when the draft actually happens is in October, from what I understand. It could be sooner than that. I don't know.
Now we gotta wait. Now we gotta wait for the other thing to happen. So we gotta wait for another draft lottery and everything else. So
yeah. So it's interesting.
I really think that the NHL went to try to get more drama into this, and by trying to make more drama, they've completely ruined it.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion. I think they screwed this up. It's like, oh great, I
don't know, bro. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. If here's the thing: is if. Go ahead, Scotty. No, I was just gonna say it'll be super interesting if it's, if 3 big teams like Montreal, Toronto, like 2 of the biggest Canadian teams get bounced in that first round. And then all of a sudden, the balls land where they land.
Yep. Yeah. And you're going to see that happen.
And I'm not
I'm not opposed to him going to like Montreal. That would be pretty cool.
The thing is, too, is you're probably going to see a random upset as well. So you're probably going to see a team that, was on that playoff bubble going in, and now they got bounced out, and they may get a number 1 overall pick when they should probably be in the like 15, 16, 17 range, Like that's a pretty huge jump there.
Yeah.
And
I just want the listeners to know I'm not upset that the Devils didn't get number. Like, I would love to have seen the Devils get the number 1 overall.
I'm pissed. I wanted the Devils to get number 1.
Yeah, and I wanted that too. I'm more upset.
The whole line with number 1.
I'm more upset at what the league did with this.
Yeah. That seems to be the kind of overall feeling, though. I don't think because we didn't expect to get the number. If you're realistic, you didn't expect to get the Devils to get the number 1 overall pick again. Like you had that little butterfly in your stomach. You're like, oh man, that would be so cool. But you didn't really honestly think that we'd sneak our way into the top 3 again.
No.
And to be honest with you, like it's not even about that. Like you said, it's just about the way that there's a team that's going to have a chance to play.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we're just being jealous, or maybe we're being biased because obviously the team that we're rooting for hasn't played since March and won't play until God knows when, maybe not even till December. So we have to wait that long until our team plays. So yeah, it sucks and we're bitter and we're angry. And to hear that a team that's going to get a chance to play and, like, you know, as a fan base, you're going to get to enjoy your team, whether they get bounced out in the first round or they march into the weirdness of this playoff series. And here's the reality. And I hate to say this, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but there's not even a guarantee that the whole season gets played out. Like, it could all go to hell. You know what I mean? Like, they could start this whole process, and then all of a sudden, everything just shuts down. And, you know, dudes start testing positive left and right, and they're like, okay, it didn't work. We can't do this. We have to wait until there's a vaccine. And then they're going to have to reconfigure how the hell all pans out, which is going to be even a bigger mess, because if they don't get through this first round and they can't figure out who's going to be the first overall pick, then I don't know. They should have just let the 7 teams be the only 7 teams.
Yeah, and they should have they should have gave the play-in teams, like one of you guys said, either number 4 or maybe put them at 7 or put them at 8. You know, like
hey guys, our sister show on the Primetime Radio Network, the Hockey on Tap guys, are on the Zoom call right now. I got Billy Dean, Lil Steve, and Schwim trying to squeeze in the camera, but Billy Dean is taking up a lot of room.
Where's your masks?
It's thick.
Yeah. Billy Dean takes up a lot of room there, but he doesn't take up a lot of room in front of my net, unless he's trying to screen me.
Just like you and your saving ability, no room.
Yeah, well, if my team had better defense, maybe but then again, we still have some of the lowest goals against stats in the entire league, even though I have one of the worst defenses in the entire league. My defense has been social distancing since before it was cool.
All right, guys. So tell us, what did you guys think about the draft? Who got hosed? Are you guys praying that your teams are going to make it a little bit higher in the draft pool?
So for me, I think as a Penguins fan, everybody was kind of saying, well, hey, Montreal could potentially upset Pittsburgh. So if that something as ridiculous as that happens, it's kind of like a little reward for being the shittiest team in the qualifying round. But that being said, I think Pittsburgh actually, the way their team is built up, has a legitimate chance to making a Stanley Cup run. I wouldn't be upset if I landed Alexis Lafreniere, but I would prefer to see a Stanley Cup run.
You upset Sam, by the way, if you didn't know it. You upset Sam there. He had to walk away for a second.
Yeah, that's fine. But no, I'm with you guys as far as being upset that one of these especially, I mean, I felt, and I said it on our podcast, I felt Detroit was as the most deserving of teams, just based on how just absolutely atrocious they are as a team. As a whole, they really deserve that number 1 pick. Not even to get a top 3 pick.
There should have been no lottery. It should have just been given to Detroit and then a lottery for everybody else. I disagree with that. I felt bad there.
What are they at? They're at 4, right? They were at 4.
Yeah, they're at 4.
And they tried to soften the blow by saying, like, oh, they went to number 4. The last person they got it for was Stevie Yzerman, and he's just looking at his pad of paper that has nothing on it anymore because he had to crumple up any notes he had on his number 1 through 3 picks that he was hoping for.
Yeah, exactly.
He scratches out the first 3 names. Is like, not Yzerman, not Yzerman, not Yzerman.
He looked at the camera and was like, none of these guys are going to be me.
Yeah. Different view. Obviously, I think that it's a normal draft where you'd have these ability for those back 8 teams to be in it. So I'm not totally upset, but when you look at it, right, Ottawa and Detroit and all these teams, I think they should have been able to get that number 1 pick. If you gave it to 3, maybe as that playing, as one of the playing teams, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, you look back, this is kind of reminds you of the Colorado draft with, they got Kel McClure, not bad. You guys had Hischier, but like, that's a tough way to go when you have that number 1 pick and you were hands down the worst team and you can't even get that best player. So it's rough. Obviously, as a Ranger fan, I like that I'm in the playoffs and I want to try to get a win in the playoff round because I think it can happen against Carolina. But I mean, I'll take Lafreniere if he can come. Him and Mr. Panarin on that one too would be pretty nice. 2 words: conspiracy.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah, because if you're a team like the Rangers or the Blackhawks now that were probably not going to make the playoffs if the regular season played out, now all of a sudden you're excited, like, yeah, we got this chance to get into the playoffs. And then it's like, oh, wait a second. Maybe we should, just sit with this one out here and go for the old number 1 pick instead. Like.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting question.
Guys, question we have for you is some of these teams that, like, really when you look at it, and even as a management standpoint, not so much as a player standpoint, because I don't think the players are capable of doing it, but like a team Minnesota, Montreal, Arizona, who really have no chance of winning this cup. And, if this was a regular season, you'd see management, scratching players, maybe pulling up minor league, trading away their players, doing whatever they can to be worse. Like, do you think there is a possibility any of these teams would purposely fail just to get that chance to the number 1 overall pick?
I don't think it would be. If
we can talk about it,
wait,
and
hold
make
on.
funny jokes about it, but I don't think 100%.
So. But if you see a team kind of like lose their way in the first game and a half, right? So let's say there's pick one, Montreal. So say Montreal loses the first game, and I'm only doing this because you're a Penguins fan. So let's say Montreal loses the first game. They start losing the second game real bad. There's no hope. Do I see them like tanking because then they're going to have a chance at getting this kid? I mean, would you be shocked? Would you be shocked to see teams kind of like lay off or just kind of like be like, hey, Carey Price pulled his knee muscle and he's got to go take a seat or something. Yeah. And then they got to put in some guy who they've never heard of. And the backup goaltender got in a car accident on the way here. Oh, no, that's the Rangers. So what you get what I'm saying.
Would you be shocked to all of a sudden see one of these bubble teams all of a sudden have a spike in a spike in positive cases of the coronavirus?
That's crazy, but yeah.
No, I mean there's a built-in excuse. There is a built-in excuse to scratch players, and it's testing positive.
Toronto's already planted the seed. Auston Matthews.
Matthews, yeah.
So.
And everybody wants to hang out with him.
Yeah.
You think about it, Toronto, Pittsburgh, Edmonton, like one of those 3 gets Chicago. You put him and Kane together, freaking McDavid and Lafreniere.
Well, you look at Pittsburgh was the seventh best team in the league when the season halted. For the 7th best team in the league to get the number 1 overall pick would be, I don't know. I mean, I would love it, but I still think that would be awful for the league.
Yeah.
And speaking of Chicago, that's exactly what they need because they're so cash strapped with all those insane contracts with Kane and Keith, and like they have no room. They need a rookie on a lower contract that they can have locked up for a couple years. Like, man, if that worked out for them, wow, they would be a whole new team again.
All right, guys. All right, thanks for chiming in.
Being our first caller.
Yeah, first noon caller.
Cheers, Jess.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Yeah, this is my first time actually really using Zoom because I did that the other day with Scotty, and I was like, oh, this is simple to use, but I'm still trying to figure it out. And I know Chris wants to get on. I'm going to get to him next. But all
right.
Yeah,
so we got coming
up? Chris, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Chris O. He's in the Facebook Live. Yeah, we'll pull him up, and I'll be right back.
All right,
man. It's funny, Scotty. You brought up a great question of like, as one of these 24 teams that got in, as one of the bottom bubble teams, you're like, as a fan, you would be like, oh my God, this is great. We're going to have a chance, and you never know. You never know because everybody's been off. So there could be a goalie that's been in his basement with like a one of those plastic pieces of plexiglass on the floor, just practicing every single day.
I thought about buying one about a month ago.
First of all, I've seen them up close and personal. They're pretty sweet, but imagine like you got a goalie that's been in tip-top shape this entire time. And then they go into this playoff format, and everybody's kind of like, man, not up to par. and you got a team and they go on a run and it's like, yeah, it's sweet. And they lose in the Stanley Cup Finals. And it was a bubble team. And then you're sitting there and you're like, we could have either won the Stanley Cup and we got that far, or you have the chance at the number 1 overall pick now. So that's a good question. Would you rather make it all the way to the finals and lose in like Game 7? Or would you rather have your shot at the number 1 overall pick and get bounced in that first round?
You know what, man? I've heard a lot of people, especially a good friend of ours, and that's why I was thinking of the Chicago Blackhawks, who likes to talk a lot of trash all the time.
Big Joe.
He was super excited, because the Blackhawks were like, I think they were the last team to get in the West, and it was like, yes, revival of the season. But if I was him right now, I'd be like, the number 1 pick is looking a lot better than the first round playoff exit that was probably going to happen if we win the first series.
I wonder what the odds are for both going either way.
I don't know.
I don't know. Like they're kind of forcing people to root against their teams now in this playing round.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like it's weird because so I wonder what so what are your odds if you advance into the next round? What are your odds of winning the Stanley Cup against if you get bounced? Your odds of winning the number 1 overall pick. Like I would love some mathematician to sit down and like break those numbers down because it might actually clarify as a fan. Like, should I be rooting for this or should I be rooting for that?
I know. All 8 teams that are going to be thrown into this first overall pick lottery have an equal chance. I want to say it was 12.5 or whatever.
I was wondering if they were going to do like more, like how Detroit and Ottawa had more opportunities to kind of like.
I believe it's luck of the draw. It's just a straight luck of the draw. There's no weighted. Everyone's got the same shot.
Yeah, 12.5. 12.5.
And
it's just weird.
This is I'm going to say that this year's Stanley Cup playoffs are going to be the most wide open in a long time. So anyone can potentially win because of how much off time there's been. But now, like you were saying, do you say, well, let's go for the cup, or Lafreniere could bring us 3-4 cups in the next 10 years?
Yeah, he could bring us 4. Yeah, exactly.
It's weird.
Can you imagine him Can you imagine him up in Toronto?
Well, they'd still find a way to lose. They'd still find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
They would lose in the first round.
Yeah.
I just want to say I just got a beer from my local bartender, Mr. Jeff from Tavern on the Rocks in Rockaway, New Jersey. We're going to have our first welcome back podcast when everything goes back to normal. Our first live podcast. So thank you, Jeff. He's clapping.
Hey guys.
Sam, what do you got?
Well, for all you fans, you can still Zoom us, 450-970-7957. We have Chris from Woodbridge, and he's got stories
Chris.
And
all right.
wants to talk to us. How are you, Chris? What's on your mind?
What's up, buddy?
Rocking the old school 2000s. What's going on, boys?
What's going on?
Not much,
Hey,
brother.
man, how's it doing?
What do we think? It's just another night here in Woodbridge, New Jersey. It looked like Peter Dorian wanted to flip that table in front of him. I mean, that guy looked like he was pissed off. What do you think?
I think you nailed it. I actually saw you comment that in the group, and one of the funny things about that is you're 100% right. And like the look on some of their faces was when they said that there was an 8th team that jumped in, all 7 screens. Every single one of those GMs were just like, "Come on."
Yeah.
Chris, are you still there?
I think he.
No, I think his. Uh-oh.
I think we lost him.
Yeah.
We lost the signal.
Yeah.
All right.
He had bad signal. Oh, he's back. He's back. Chris, try not to move around so much because that kind of. Chris, are you still there? Chris from Woodbridge?
We'll have to try to bring him back on.
Oh, no, there he is. There he is.
All right.
Yeah, you hear me, guys?
Yeah,
we
now
go.
we
We
got
hear
you.
There you go. Okay. So this because if Vancouver wins their round, that pick now becomes next year pick because technically now they made the playoffs. Would that be right?
No. The opposite.
We
That stays our
yeah,
pick.
we need that stays. So yeah, we need Vancouver to win, and we need the Coyotes to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Unless we get the number one pick.
Because now, obviously, if the Coyotes lose, then that could become the first overall, which means we ain't getting it anyway because it's protected, correct?
Yep.
Correct. Yes,
That's
unfortunately.
Yeah, so we need the Coyotes to lose twice.
Wow, I tell you what. I mean, this is a deep draft, but I mean, I see him get Rossi at 7, but who knows if he's going to be there at 7? I mean, I guess it's a pretty deep draft, so I mean, I guess it could be a lucky draw at this point. I don't know. What do you think, guys, as a head coach? What are you thinking?
So we were talking about this the other day. Nazardine, I think, has earned his place to at least get another full year where he can have the whole team and kind of see where he does or what he does with the whole team for an entire year. Meaning, like from training camp into the year, get into that really gritty part of the back end of November and going into December where it kind of seems like teams start to really separate themselves. But I know there's a lot of people that want that big name, but sometimes you could buy a Cadillac and it still drives like a Pontiac. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I feel like you want to give Naz that shot. I just made that up, by the way. That's pretty good.
No, that works well.
We need a coach that's going to work well with kids because let's be honest, except for Zajac, we really have a lot of kids coming. You got Ball coming, Ty Smith coming, Boquist. We need somebody who's going to work well with the kids. I don't know if any of those guys that are out there. I mean, Gallant would be okay, I guess, but we need somebody who's going to develop kids because a lot of these older coaches don't have patience for a rebuild. That's why I think we need to go with somebody who's good with the young guys because that's all we have is young guys. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think the Nazardine has kind of gotten that he should get that opportunity because he had the team going in a very positive direction when this stoppage occurred, and who knows what would have happened with another, with one more month of Devils hockey, we could have potentially snuck in, and I think you're right. A lot of those other big names may not be ready for a rebuild. Nazardine may be the one guy that's best equipped for what we have right now and seem to have it going in the right direction when everything stopped.
Yeah, I think Fitzgerald is going to stay where he's at. I think that he's warming that seat up for Marty. I got a feeling that. I mean, you look around the NHL now, a lot of these GM positions are held by former players that are pretty good. Francis, Sakic, the list goes on and on. That's Marty's job at some point. I don't think it's going to be in the next couple of years, but I think he's just warming that seat up for Marty. That's my opinion.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Thanks for zooming in, Chris, and we'll talk soon. Keep zooming in and keep listening to the podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is Chris from Woodbridge.
That's awesome, man.
Zoom us. Tell us how you feel. 450-970-7957. But if you don't have Richman internet, don't bother calling.
Yeah. Try to check your connection. How many bars you got there. If you don't go hide in the hollow section of like the cubby hole of your house. Like, don't go there. Like try to be.
By the way, my internet before we jumped on here was pretty bad. I actually had to call my provider to say like pretty bad. I had to call my provider and say like, hey, how much is it going to cost me more a month if I need to upgrade my internet? And the answer did not satisfy me. So I'm going to have to make this work. Put a little tinfoil on the modem. Hopefully that'll work.
So does that mean you've now contracted Nikki to build a better internet router?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. She's actually on the roof right now constructing it out of a solid piece of wood and tinfoil as we speak. We're creating our own network. So before we get into...
by the way, we should start calling Nikki MacGyver.
Yeah. MacGruber.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
So before we
lost
get
Sam.
into the next, I don't know, he just disappeared.
He's like, I need a sandwich. I'll be back.
I gotta go drop a heater. So he's from Boston now. So anyways, I actually wanted to comment on what I see in Scotty's background, hanging up on the little your cabinet, the little the knobs of your cabinet there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the face mask?
That is one of my Let's Go Devils face masks, along with this one right here as well.
And who printed that? Who printed that beautiful face mask? And where can you get that beautiful face mask?
I think it's the guy who's sitting to the, what is that, the right of me? Right, left, right, whatever it is now. Right next to me here. Believe it or not, shorts guy.
Yeah, I printed some of those up. I may put them up for sale since it looks like for the foreseeable future we're going to need them. So anyone that has any interest in a Let's Go Devils podcast face mask, we got 2 designs that we could potentially do. I can, if there's interest, I'll put them up for sale, and I'll start. Yeah, there's that logo, and then just regular our regular logo. Scotty, can you show the other one with the wording on it behind you there?
That is right over. I don't know if you can really. I kind of have it like locked on here. I don't know if you can.
Okay.
That's his cookie cabinet. He's trying to do the diet now, so he locked it up so he won't go in there and eat any cookies.
Hey guys, we
I've
got
a picture there. It's gonna fall on me.
What do you got?
Before we get Nick Villano on, we got one of our hardcore listeners from Edison, New Jersey, actually at the shore right now. Matt Junio.
Right.
Matt.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right.
What's up, dude?
What's up, Matt?
Oh,
Are you walking on the boardwalk right now?
Yes, I am. I'm actually with my girlfriend and her friends. She's
All
having,
right.
she's having her own graduation party because of COVID, she didn't have her graduation got postponed to December, and she couldn't have a party. So this weekend, since things are opening up, she invited me down to a condo to just to hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, very nice, man. Very nice. It's kind of weird. Like, I'm not gonna lie, watching people walk on the boardwalk right now kind of like freaks me out because like I'm like, wait a second, life hasn't gone back to normal yet. So what the hell are you guys doing on the boardwalk?
Yeah,
well, you're being very safe. You got your mask is on and everything. That looks great. Yeah,
it's crazy because when I'm walking around here, if I do my calculations right, it's gonna be 90. It's like 95% of people are not wearing a mask.
That's not good. That's not good. That's gonna make the spike.
Well, you set the example. Thank you.
All right, Matt. So, what do you think about the draft? 1 minute or less.
So cool. So what I thought was that I wanted 6th or higher, but that did not happen. Well, I'm okay with it being 7th. There's only one spot lower, but I'm really pissed off is that a placeholder got the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not happy with that. But I mean, for the Devils, one pick lower, I'm hesitant about them getting Holtz or Raymond. Those are 2 guys I was definitely looking forward to get. I like Vossi. If they get Vossi, that's okay. However, I'm just worried about him transitioning to winger.
Well, I was
Agreed.
actually that's what a lot of people have said as well about him transitioning to wing. But you think that might work well with Nico and Jack, unless you think of Jack Hughes possibly transferring to a wing at some point as well. But it's an interesting prospect to be sitting at there.
Yeah.
All righty.
It's not the end of the world, but it's about living.
No,
it's just frustrating what the NHL did. That's all.
I agree.
Hey, Matt, be safe out there, buddy. Make sure after you're done with us, you put your mask back up. Even though 95% of the people aren't wearing it, you should definitely wear it because it's going to protect you over anything else. Dude, thank you so much for calling in, man. This is pretty awesome.
Yeah, play some skee ball and get some soft serve.
Yeah, man, enjoy the boardwalk.
Hey, Matt, before we let you go, you got to do one thing. you got to shout on the top of your lungs, I love the Let's Go Devils podcast. Do that for me.
Did I do it?
Do it now. Yeah, do it
You
right
can put your
now.
mask up so nobody sees who you're doing it.
1, 2, 3. I love the New Jersey Devils podcast. Let's go Devils podcast.
There you
All
go.
right, very good.
There you
Yeah.
go. Well, thank you, Matt. That's
Thanks,
Matt
Matt.
Junio from Edison, New
All
Jersey,
right, Matt.
on the boardwalk, showing his love for the podcast. See,
Yeah, buddy.
I'm glad we're doing this whole Zoom thing now. This is kind of
That's
cool.
fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, we should do this more often.
Let's interact.
And Sam,
But right now,
we're doing this
What's that?
live, not Devils live.
oh yeah. Yeah, this is not
Yeah.
fake live, people. We don't do things
Yeah.
fake live, okay? Because if we did,
No.
you see that live on the bottom right-hand corner? If we were pre-recorded live, it would say fake live. We wouldn't ever lie to you.
Yeah, I could say something like really bad, like, and that would never come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's not like we can pre-record this, during the day, like we knew that some mystery team had the draft. But we do
didn't
know
dream
somebody.
we did know.
this way.
But
We,
do know
I wore my
somebody-
tinfoil hat. Of course I knew.
we do have somebody
Oh!
that's from Pucks and Pitchforks blog, co-host
Another
of the State
bearded
of the
man
Fan
with
Address,
glasses.
Nick Villano. Nick, do you have latency delay issues right now? Could you hear us okay?
I can hear you. I don't know if I have latency delay issues, but I think that's your job to figure out.
Oh, well, I was too busy trying to get
Oh.
Beer Baron set up before. But anyway,
Hey, man. It's not my fault. It's my internet provider. They need to step it up.
just tell Nikki to get it going.
Oh, you
Put a
missed that whole
fiber line.
conversation. We talked
missed
about it.
Yeah, I heard there's some tin foil and some aluminum foil and other types of foil to try to get this podcast on.
Hey, sometimes whatever works.
Yeah.
So
We
Nick,
make too.
Nick, we've all had our reaction of what it's like to watch this whole. I don't know if you want to call it a debacle, but from our point of view, it kind of felt like a debacle happen where a mystery, quote unquote, mystery team, like we're gonna have Shaggy come out and unmask the janitor, and you're like, it's the Chicago Blackhawks. I knew it the whole time. So what is your take on, first of all, the way that the draft or the draft lottery happened, and your thoughts about the number 7 pick for us?
Well, first of all, is there anyone here into conspiracy theories?
Oh, we all are.
No.
We talked about
Oh,
it right
yeah.
off the bat.
Listen, they were going to hold another draft lottery regardless if one of these 3 teams was, one of these 8 other teams was going to jump into it, and this mystery team. So maybe they were like, hey, NBC Sports, we're going to throw you a bone. We're not going to do the draft before the play-in like we promised you, but, why don't we give you 2 draft lotteries, and one of them is going to be for the number 1 overall pick, and you can have teams like the Rangers in it, or Montreal, or Pittsburgh, or it's malarkey. It's malarkey is what it is. It's funny. There was a better chance that a mystery team was going to get the number 1 overall pick than any other team. And remember, the Ottawa Senators had the 2nd and 3rd best overall odds, and they still didn't have better odds to get the number 1 overall pick combined than that mystery playoff team.
It's
No way.
I don't know how. Yeah, it's just for Ottawa, and like we were talking about before, Detroit. It's just got to be so just.
Kick-
Ottawa's got to be worse. You went from 2-3. You went from 2-3. You're like, oh, we got a 25% chance, man. There's no way we're missing out. No way. We've missed out a few times. Not this time. Womp womp.
Yeah.
Yeah, they missed out
That's how
pretty
you
hard.
drink
They
a
missed
beer
out.
right there, Nick.
I do it how I do it. I gotta get the. I got that jersey in me still. I might live in Florida where coronavirus is going to ruin the world, but I still got jersey flowing through my veins.
There you go. That's why you're going to be safe.
I'm stronger than COVID, I guess. But yeah, no, I'll go into just kind of. I mean, getting pick number 7. This is a really bad situation for the Devils because this has been a stressful enough year for us Devils fans. But now we have to live with the fact that we could lose the number 1 pick that we got in the Taylor Hall trade. That's a very large possibility right now. B, the New York Rangers have a chance to get a number 1 overall pick and Alexis Lafreniere after they just got Kakko last year. So they could add more insane talent to that team. I will say this. Every source that I've seen says that Carolina Hurricanes pick that they traded for you this year cannot be the number 1 overall pick. There's like 16 scenarios with that pick. There's too many scenarios with that pick. But Dan Rosen was the latest person to tweet it. They cannot get the number 1 overall pick through Carolina. The only way they can get it is through their own pick. So at least that's some good news. But again, Carolina is another team in the division. They could get Lafreniere. The Pittsburgh Penguins get Lafreniere. The New York Islanders could get Lafreniere. The Columbus Blue Jackets could get Lafreniere. There's a lot of teams that the Devils see a lot that have a chance to get this number 1 overall pick. And they could end up with – we thought we were going to get 6, 10, and 17. We could end up with just 7. And that's going from having a hole in this draft to – 1 pick at number 7 is a lot to put on a guy when the Devils need as much as they do. If you brought in these 3 picks and you put them all together, Devils fans would be a lot happier with the production you got out of the 3 of them as a unit. But look at Zacha. Look at how angry a lot of the Devils fans are with Zacha and his production. He's really good at certain things, but he's definitely not worth the number 6 overall pick, and that's going to hang with him forever. So if the Devils lose those 2 picks, the Vancouver pick and the Arizona pick, then the expectations of that number 7 overall pick is going to skyrocket. And I'm looking at some of the names. I don't know if you guys went over some of the names that are in the mock drafts that are available there, but it's names like Cole Perfetti. Maybe you get Alexander Holtz or Marco Rossi available there. Maybe. Worst case scenario, everybody knows it. I make it very clear. The one player I do not want this year is Jake Sanderson. Don't take him. He's average. He's going to be an average defenseman in the NHL. He's going to be decent. He might be a fan favorite on some teams. He's like that guy. It's going to be a cool, maybe Nicholas Hjalmarsson. Maybe that's like his ceiling to me is Hjalmarsson. The best case scenario, if everything goes right. Yeah, Nicholas Hjalmarsson. That's great. But honestly, the Devils could just trade for Nicholas Hjalmarsson right now for a 5th round pick because Arizona's in cap hell. So I don't want Jake Sanderson. I think that would be the worst possible pick. I'd rather them take Askarov, the goalie, if that's their only pick. But anyway, point being, there is some really good talent there. I know Anton Lundell, he's probably going to be there. He had a pretty good season in Finland. And a lot of people are comparing him to Kirby Dach, the guy that Chicago drafted 3rd overall last year. So he's a player that I like. Jack Quinn is a little too early to take him at 7. That's a little too rich for my blood, but I have seen him taken in the 8-9 range, so anything can happen. There's a lot of players that the Devils could kind of jump up and grab there. And then there's the possibility that Jamie Drysdale falls to 7 because a lot of these top forwards are going to entice teams, and then you could get the number 1 defenseman in the draft at 7. I don't think he's going to fall. I think that someone's going to take him, and I think that Ottawa could take him with that 5th pick. But if he falls, that would be good. We should celebrate. Jamie Drysdale is nowhere near as good as the Bowen Byrams or Cale Makars or Miro Heiskanens that have been coming up in years past. But he's still a really good player, and I think he could be in the NHL after one more year in junior.
So Nick, if let's say the Devils only get
Sorry. So Sam started laughing, and it struck me funny because there's that weird pregnant pause.
I know I gained my
my God.
COVID-15, but I'm definitely not pregnant.
So Nick, listen to you talk about that, and the worst case scenario, we have only one pick. You know, it just makes me think the Devils really need to make a decision on general manager, because having one pick versus three puts a lot of pressure on Fitzgerald, and if he doesn't get it right only as the interim, then that is a black mark against ownership for not having potentially the right guy there in the position to pick number 7. So, what do you think about having to get the GM solidified before this? I mean, I think they got to do that anyway, but I think it's definitely a more pressing issue if we only get that one pick.
Yeah, I mean, from the things I've seen over the past couple of days, I'm trying to ask around. I'm not getting the answers that I thought I would, but I think based on what other people report, like Elliot Friedman has been reporting a lot about this for some reason. He's talking about they're looking at different roles that aren't necessarily GM. What I think is happening that could possibly make sense is that maybe they're trying to restructure the whole thought process on it. Maybe they're going to have a hockey operations person who oversees everything, and then they'll have a general manager under him. So maybe they're keeping Tom Fitzgerald at that position and then looking at some of the other options that they have been interviewing for Fitzgerald's boss, to give an extra person in between Fitzgerald and the ownership. And then they'll think about hiring a head coach. Obviously, I know a lot of people, Elliot Friedman actually just reported that, some of the GM candidates have expressed worry about the Devils' interest in hiring a coach before hiring a GM. And I get that point, but I could see why they're just waiting on everybody. A GM, you can hire a GM now because not a lot more are going to get fired right before the offseason, but more coaches are going to get fired. I think that you could see 1 or 2 or even 3 more who, if they just fall out of the playoffs. Like, think about if the Lightning just fall out of the playoffs again. I've brought up John Cooper multiple times because I think he's the person that they're waiting on. But there's a lot that can happen, and this COVID-19 could change a lot of things. Like, think about it. If they cancel college hockey, are they going to add Riley Walsh? Are they going to add Arn Talbot from Penn State? Are they going to add these college players, Tice Thompson are they going to add other college players? Is that going to be an influx and something that they have to handle? If they, if they push the season back to January, that's going to change a lot of things that they thought that they were going to have to do. There's just a lot of factors coming in here and when they have the draft is going to change a lot of when they want to make these decisions. So I think that they're doing their due diligence. Maybe they're taking a little longer than we all like. And yes, I'd love the content. I'd love to have something to write about that was tangible with the New Jersey Devils. But we're doing free agency week, so you gotta make do with what you have. And I think the Devils are just waiting, and I'd rather them wait. I'd rather them wait to see every possible candidate, to get every possible interview, to try to talk to the best possible people across the league and across all leagues. And do I think that they need a general manager now? I don't, actually, because I just don't. Fitzgerald, I think, is doing a good enough job to where you don't need to make the decision. I would just make him GM. Personally, I would just make Fitzgerald GM, because I think if you don't at this point, it's going to look like a really bad move and you're going to look like a really bad organization. But beyond the point, if they feel like that they want to just do their due diligence and they got a little extra time because of this pandemic and they feel like that they don't want to waste that opportunity, I think that we just need to sit back and wait and give them more credence than blame for, taking their time with the most important decision they've had in a long time.
So I have a question for you in regards to, let's say all the chips kind of fall in the right way for the Devils, where we end up with the 7, 10, 17, like you kind of pointed out before, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say those 3 picks come in, everything works out. We got those 3 great picks in the first round, very deep draft. Would you be enticed of trying to move that number 7 pick or that number 10 pick to try to get an NHL commodity? Whether that be a defenseman, whether it be a forward, whether it be whatever the hell you want to pick. But would you be more enticed of moving that number 7 as opposed to if it was like a 5 or a 3 or a 2?
I mean, yeah, obviously I'm more enticed to trade it than I would if it was a 3 or 4 or 2. Obviously, in this draft, I think there's tiers. There's number 1, there's 2 through 5, which is a very high tier compared to other drafts. And then there's 6 through 10, which is, again, higher than it's been in other drafts. So, yeah, I think that I'm more enticed. But it all depends. I've heard I've heard on a couple of the NHL Rumors Twitter accounts, and I have to look more into this, but that there are talking about a flat salary cap, but it being higher than normal and higher than the 81.5 than it is now. If that's the case, that's bad news for the Devils. I think the Devils were going to be able to take advantage of some teams if they got stuck with the same cap as this year with the 81.5, and if they go up to like 83, 84 like they originally planned, they won't be able to take advantage of as many teams. But I still think there are going to be teams that are cap strapped and cash strapped. I think some teams are going to look at their bottom line and say, I'm paying such and such a player $7 million or $6 million, and we might not have fans in the stands next year. So why don't I get this price off my books now? And they call up the Devils, who have cash. They have, the Harrison Blitzer group have not been shy to spend money. I think that you don't need to trade the 7th overall pick because teams are just going to be wanting to get these contracts off the books. I've said it. I think that Patrick Laine is going to end up being a New Jersey Devil because the pieces just make sense to me. But I would also call about Nicholas Hjalmarsson, the guy I brought up earlier. I think that his $5 million contract, I think he's perfect for the left side. Pair him with PK Subban, and he's a really good pair for PK Subban, if you ask me. So I think that's another player. He's got a $5 million cap hit. Help these teams out. We're here for you. We're the New Jersey Devils, and we'll take some.
We're here to make your dreams come true.
But we're not giving you the 7th overall pick. We're not even giving you 10th or 11th overall, whatever it ends up being with Arizona. Maybe I give you 17 in the Patrick Laine trade. Yeah, probably. I'll probably give you that. But, they're in bad situations. And they're the ones who need to get out of those bad situations. So I don't think the Devils have to trade those 2 top picks because this is an insane top 10. And if they make the right decisions, quote unquote, don't draft Jake Sanderson with either of those picks, I think they'll be in really good shape for the future. And they can get players with other picks because nobody's trading out of the top 10 this year.
Hey, Nick, we have a special caller on Zoom right now. And we're going to patch him in. You may know him. It's Jersey Joe from New Jersey. Joe,
Jersey Joe.
How are you doing, Joe?
Hey, guys.
Hey, Joe, you want to? Joe, there you go. Now you're on the screen.
I did a pre. All right, so now you can see my face a little bit better.
There you go.
So I have 2 mock drafts. I have a pre and I have a current post mock draft. So I want to start off before the draft started, the draft lottery. Lafreniere still going first, Stützle at number 2, Byfield number 3, Drysdale 4th. I was thinking Sanderson would go 5th, but I think his stock has dropped at this point significantly. Lucas Raymond at 6, Holtz to 7, Perfetti to 8, 9 would be Yaroslav Askarov, and 10 would be Seth Jarvis. So and 17, Jan Mishak. So let's go to tonight's. I have Lafreniere. I have Byfield. I have Stutzle.
Mm-hmm.
I have Drysdale. Even at 5th. Rossi at 6th. And Holtz at 7.
Oh, look at these bugs. I think Beer Baron has a little ADD right now.
Oh, he's getting
Sorry,
more
no,
beer.
I did. My bartender just came in. Thanks, barkeep.
I hope you're tipping him.
Yeah. Hey, Jersey Joe, I got to say, I don't mind that number 7 pick.
Well, I'm glad you don't mind it at all. I mean, this draft year is very good for a lot of forwards, but in this case, it's also really good for wingers. And, you know, the Devils need a shooter to complement Jack Hughes. And who and what better would you want than Alexander Holtz? A kid
Holtz and Raymond. Yeah.
League in Sweden. They complemented each other in the World Juniors, and it's like, one will be the playmaker, one will be the player. So they are.
Oh, Joe?
Joe, you there?
Yep.
I am.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just cut out. You know how Zoom works. It kind of cuts it in and out. But, hey, Joe, do you have anything to plug before we let you go?
Okay, so before I go, I want to say this whole Phase 2 thing is just full of baloney. And it always seems to be the NHL is the other 7 teams one way or another. It's not a conspiracy. It was built to be like the Electoral College, but for hockey. So let's put it.
Great comparison.
Do you think number 8 should be winning the Stanley Cup and winning first overall? Hell no. No. Not from my heads of hockey experience. You should not have a winner of win one and win the other. It doesn't make any sense. Even my nephew would understand that, and he's 2.5.
Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you for hopping on. And keep plugging away, Joe. Keep plugging away. That is Jersey Joe coming to you live from his office somewhere in beautiful New Jersey. Nick. Yeah, we're doing this new Zoom thing, Nick. It's kind of cool. We're still working out the bugs. We're gonna have to start. We're gonna need to get a rich man internet provider sponsor because help these folks out. Maybe they'll say promo code LGDP, get a discount on that internet.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we're trying.
Well, I mean, why you got to get in touch with those rich people that you keep telling me about? The rich people, the rich people, internet providers, you got to just get more rich people involved in the podcast. That's all I'm asking.
Oh, that's all we need.
We need a sugar daddy for the podcast, is what he's saying. We need a podcast sugar daddy.
Podcast daddy. Please help me with some money.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what we need, Nick. That's what we need.
But just talking about real quick what Joe was talking about, Holtz would actually be a really good pick. He's got a really nice shot. I think if he falls to the Devils, I think we should be at least somewhat happy. I'm curious what happens if Raymond, Rossi, and Holtz are all available, or I feel like that's unlikely. But if 2 of those 3 are available between Rossi, Raymond, and Holtz, what the Devils would do, I actually think that they would take Holtz. Rossi is just full of talent, but he plays center. and he seems like he's really good there at center. Lucas Raymond's a really good pick too, though. Lucas Raymond's a guy that a lot of people have falling for some reason, and I think that his talent can be one of the best in the draft.
Yeah, and all the mocks that I've seen, those are the three that really seem to be following in our range in that 6, 7, 8 kind of line. So I don't know. I would be stoked with any three of those for the debacle that happened. If we turn out with one of those three players, I'll be a happy man.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I like Raymond the most. I think he's my favorite. But again, I'm with you. If we get any of those three, I think Rossi's really good. He's a little small, but I think he's going to grow a little. And then I think you can kind of just develop him as a winger for the rest of his career and kind of teach him, the little intricacies that it takes to change from center to wing. And then Holtz, as Joe put it, he's a good center right now, but his shot shows that he could be a winger. I think that he's somebody who could be good right now. I do want to mention one thing. I think that Joe said, Joe cut out in the middle of his sentence, and I think that he got lost in translation, because it sounded like he said that a team could win the Stanley Cup and get the number 1 overall pick. But I don't think that's what he was trying to say, because that can't happen. It's only the teams that are losing in the play-in round. And I heard this also they asked this same exact question, so maybe there is some confusion. But Joe usually knows his stuff, so I think that it did get lost in translation with the connection. But a team can't win the number 1 overall pick and win the Stanley Cup, because only the teams that lose in that first play-in round are going to be part of that draft lottery that's coming up later.
Yep.
No,
that's correct.
Yep.
I didn't hear if you guys addressed that, and I heard it. That's how I heard it when he said it, and I know that's probably not what he meant, so I wanted to just clarify for him since he's not here to do it.
We just had a King of the Hill moment where all of us just boom-houred you and just, yep.
Yep.
Yep. You're right about that one, man.
I'm out of beer to do the.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because
we all had a personal bartender in our house,
Yeah, hey man, we're not all lucky. I might not have rich man internet, but I do have a bartender. So I will say this. With all the different scenarios that are coming on, not only has this been one of the most interesting years, obviously, for all humanity, not just the NHL, but as a Devils fan, it was kind of weird. We could all agree, like, in the beginning of the year, we had so much hope and so much, just kind of revitalized hope, I guess, with PK coming to the team, and then you had Jack Hughes and, like, everything else. So I wonder what our expectations are going to be for next season. If we're going to have this kind of, like, same hyped up, like, oh, my God, here we go, or should we temper it down a little bit? And I guess when everything kind of, like, falls into place and we understand what we're getting, when we're going to get it in the first round, how this entire draft is going to work out. You still have to go through free agency, all these other things that are going to shape the team for next year. I'm really curious to, like, take a snapshot of now and then what this team is actually going to look like when they are able to resume play. And I wanted to ask you, Nick, do you foresee any kind of, like, earth-shattering, or do you want to predict or jokingly say, because I was reading on Pitchforks about the Johnny Gaudreau possibility trades and how that could happen. But do you foresee any kind of, like, earth-shattering trade or thing that could happen to this team that would reshape the way that we look at it right now?
I think they're trading for Patrick Laine.
Which would be awesome.
100%. I think that they're going to trade for Patrick Laine. He's the very perfect player to get right now. I think, you know what? I got Pucks and Pitchforks to where it is by making outlandish predictions and sticking by them and giving reasons why I think that they could work. So you know what? I'm going to go back to where I made my bread, and I'm going to make some crazy predictions right now. Can you guys hear my crazy predictions?
That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
Hear it. Bring it.
I think that the Devils actually have the assets and the ability and the need and just to put them in the right position to trade for Patrick Laine and also sign Taylor Hall. I think that they can make both of those moves. I think it also makes sense because I don't think Taylor Hall is going to get nearly. I was looking at the wingers, and the wingers are up and down, but left wing is still pretty decent on free agency overall. Right wing is just a total tire fire. So, this would take some maneuvering, but I think that you have to take advantage of Jack Hughes while he's on his rookie contract. You have to take advantage of some of these other players who are on a rookie contract. Mackenzie Blackwood's not going to get a crazy good deal. The Devils have I got to double check it, but I think they have about $22-ish million in salary cap space. I literally haven't looked in so long because I just haven't needed it because of A, pandemic, B, we have been terrible, but whatever. Point is that they have plenty of money. So if you bring on, the money that Patrick Laine is making right now and the money that Taylor Hall is making, and you give raises to Jesper Bratt and Mackenzie Blackwood, which I think would get you another $5 million, you're still under the cap. And that's without buying out Corey Schneider. So, I don't know what they're going to do with Corey Schneider because they paraded him in front of everybody. But if they buy him out, that saves another $4 million in salary, which I think is going to pay for almost all the raise you give to Blackwood and Bratt. And then you still have money to go pay for, look at the goalies that are on free agency this year. You could get a very good backup for very little money because there's just so many options. There's probably 15 that I'd be like, I'm cool with him being a backup. So this would be a good time for the Devils to make that move to draft to buy out Corey Schneider. Just when I look at it without emotion and just based on the dollars and cents. So you could do that, save a little money that way, get a more reliable option in net, and then, you still have a couple extra dollars to play with this defense. I think I like the Hjalmarsson, but I think that if you're trading for Patrick Laine, you don't want to give up even more assets to go after somebody else. I don't know what Hjalmarsson is going to cost. I don't know what Arizona's situation is going to be. But if you sign Hall and trade for Laine, your top line is maybe you want to do Hall, Nico, and Palmieri to get that chemistry back together. But obviously we saw this year Hall wasn't the best in that situation. So maybe you do Laine, Nico, and Palmieri on the top line. You do Taylor Hall next to Jack Hughes, and then you put Gusev on his right, and then just push everyone down. Just think about how good of a top six that is. And then you still got Travis Zajac on the third line. You still got, other really good players in that, all these prospects like Nick Merkley and Yanni Kokkonen and maybe Michael McLeod and Nathan Bastian and all these other...
Wait, what do you mean maybe Michael McLeod?
My dude, he's had 0 goals in 33 NHL games. My dude, he is maybe Michael McLeod.
No, we know.
Hey,
I'm
guys.
aware of this.
Hey, guys, we got Ryan Mann.
Yeah, Ryan the main man.
All the way from Canada. Ryan.
I like
You're
from Canada.
on the Let's Go Devils podcast. How are you, man?
Hey, buddy.
I think he's having some technical difficulties up in Canada.
You might be muted. Are you muted, buddy?
He may be muted.
No. Sorry, guys.
Hey,
that's okay.
Hey.
I was hoping for a lottery win, but I'll take it, right?
Hey, not bad.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't really have a choice.
How is Canada reacting to this, blown kind of top spot in the lottery?
I mean, Canada's okay. I mean, Quebec, they're probably rioting right now. They were all in on last year, but the rest of us here, we're hoping for the best. But
so Ryan, what was your? Go
ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Scotty. No, I was just going to say, Ryan, what was your initial thought When you heard that the Devils were staying at number 7 or going from 6 to 7 rather, what was your initial thought when you saw the card flip and it wasn't getting flipped for number 1 this year?
Oh, guys, I'm like you. I'll be honest, I was pissed. If anything else, I was hoping but anything less, I was angry, but anything above, I was positive. But I guess we can't be lucky all the time, so we'll take what we can get. But I'll be honest, I'm still a little pissed, still wound up over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all are.
So Ryan, you had a question for us. What was that question?
Well, hypothetically, next year, let's say there's no NHL hockey next year with coronavirus 2.0. Mm-hmm. What happens with the draft next year or the draft lottery? Do they resort back to this year's standings? How's that work? I might be getting ahead of myself. But, hey,
maybe you throw all 32 teams because it'll be you'll have to add in Seattle, right? So maybe you throw in Seattle gets the number 1, and then after that, 2 through 32 get thrown into a bag. You shake it up real good, and you just start pulling them out one at one.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but in 2004 wasn't that just a random lottery?
Yes, it was a frozen ping pong ball, and that's how the Pittsburgh Penguins got Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
No, they based it. I thought they based it off of. I don't know. I thought they're going to base it off the standings of the year prior.
Well,
in 2004. It was just random. It was 100% random.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah, random.
And who did the Devils get? Nicholas Bergfors? Is that who we got in 2005?
Oh, Nicholas Bergfors. Wow.
And then he took out our buddy Collins. Never mind. I shouldn't even say that. But
who was that? Who was that one guy we had? Oh man, he was like touted for so many years. I think he wore. Was it like something in the teens? I can't remember. We ended up trading. Oh, that's gonna bother me. He was a prospect for a long time.
Reed Boucher.
Yes.
Dude, I had so much. Everybody had so much hope for Reed Boucher.
Everyone was like, he's the next coming. He's going to be so good. Reed Boucher. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be in a Pucks and Pitchforks article next week about prospects that we were very, very high on. Another one that's going to make that list is Alexander Urbaum, who I
yes.
Great shot.
I don't want to give him the whole list,
shot.
Reed Boucher and Urbaum are big on there.
What about Johnny Q? Old Johnny Quenneville. I thought Quenneville was going to be better than what he was touted to be, but another guy.
He just seemed like he was always going to be a guy destined for a bottom 6 role. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
I heard Mike McLeod was going to be on that list.
Yeah.
Hey, you better watch your mouth.
You watch your mouth.
He's not.
You don't say anything about Mike McLeod.
If Beer Baron starts saying bad things about Pucks and Pitchforks online, I don't want to have an in-podcast fight.
I've never said any bad things about Pucks and Pitchforks ever.
Sometimes that helps ratings. A feud.
Hey,
exactly.
I just want to thank Ryan on. I don't know if that was for us to cut him off or what, but I think
he needed to get another beer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He needed to go, get another beer. That's all.
I wasn't going to have any beer tonight, but here I am with one, and I'll probably go for another one.
One?
Yeah, well.
Uh-oh.
You're right. And some of us have things to do tonight and tomorrow. Anyway.
Before we leave, I do want to ask, because I've been getting these people saying this to me, and I think it's crazy, but maybe I'm the crazy one. Are you more excited about getting the 10 and 17th pick this year, or would you be more excited about getting unprotected picks next year from Vancouver and Arizona?
Oh, well, so it depends because, honestly, I don't know what the prospects look like in next year's draft. And because this year has been so pumped up, in my opinion, I'd rather get the draft picks this year. But there isn't. Let me ask you this, Nick. So from what I understand, I don't think it's going to happen. But from what I understand, is if Taylor Hall re-signs with the Arizona Coyotes and they win a playoff game or a playoff series rather, then we get 2 first-round picks from them in consecutive years. Is that true? I forget how I was trying to read into it's so. There's like the third pick or the whatever the hell they gave us. I don't know, man.
So there's the 3rd round pick next year. If they get past I think it's the traditional first round.
Then it turns into a second
round pick. If they re-sign Taylor Hall, it becomes a first round pick. If both those things happen. I'm sorry. If they re-sign Taylor Hall or if they make it to the next round, to the traditional second round, it becomes a second round pick. If they both happen, it becomes a first round pick. Now, if they both happen, or if they just advance in the playoffs, it would be impossible for us to get their first round, or it's impossible for them to get a top 3 pick. So that part would be mute. They wouldn't need to deal with that next
year. Yeah.
But point being is that they could get consecutive first round picks from the Coyotes. Is that correct?
If they make it to the next round and they re-sign Taylor Hall, then we get next year's pick on top of this year's pick. Yes. Right now at the 3rd, if those conditions happen, it can move to a second or a first. I don't think that they're re-signing Taylor Hall. They don't have the money.
Yes, indeed.
And
I got that information from our good friend Jersey Joe. By the way, he kind of reminded me that there's those like weird stipulations and all of these picks and all this crap.
Yeah, trying to figure out. It took me a good 15 minutes before I came on the podcast to figure out whether the Rangers had access to 2 possibilities at the first overall pick. I don't think they do. I'm 95% sure they don't. Like I said, Dan Rosen's reporting it, a couple other people are reporting it. But when they explain, you ever have somebody like tell you something and then explain it to you, be like, no, but I still think the other thing. Because that's kind of how it's going, but I trust these sources. So I'm going to say that the Rangers don't have a chance at 2 first overall picks, or 2 chances at the first overall pick, but
I hope
this
not.
I can't have the Rangers getting top overall picks while being decent 2 years in a row. That's BS.
Yeah. And Nick, to answer your first question, I'd rather take the picks this year because who knows what the hell is going to happen in the coming months, and who knows what junior hockey is going to be played or not played. You know, these players could, potentially get a full year off of hockey, and then how do you properly rate a player that hasn't played in a year? And then on top of that, like you mentioned, like what if players jump into the draft early this year because of that? I'd rather have all the picks this year.
Hey, Nick, before we let you go, what's going on with Pucks and Pitchforks blog? You got anything to plug?
Yeah, we're going to have a couple of things over the weekend. I'm going to finish up the free agency preview. We'll have left wings. And then I'll do a quick one on centers just because the center position is stacked, but I'll write it in a way that which ones would be best to move to wing in the free agency. So that'll be coming out over the weekend. I know we got a piece on Patrick Eliash and his impending Hall of Fame from this week's guest, Dave Brown. He got a piece in, so that's going to go up tomorrow morning. And I know Vinny's got a piece on the draft lottery coming up. So, we got a couple pieces coming in. There's plenty of content. There's oodles and oodles of content. We got stuff coming out every day. We did not stop for the coronavirus. We are still doing our 50 to 65 posts a month. There's plenty to read over at Pucks and Pitchforks. We're going to keep doing that until the Devils play hockey again, and then even more after that. But all the way through January, when the season finally starts again, which is my prediction, I think they're going to start with the Winter Classic. We're going to have those 50 articles a month for you, and just keep going. Pucks and pitchforks every day. We'll have something new for you.
Well, thanks, Nick.
Can I actually make a suggestion or a hopeful for an article, a review of the late round defensive prospects? Because the Devils don't have a second and third round pick, we may end up getting a lot of defensemen in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. So if you have all three. If you have anyone who's looking at deeper defensive prospects, maybe those hidden gems later in the draft, I know I'd be really interested in reading something about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely probably early next month. I'm going to do something on players we could take in the 4th round, players we could take in the 5th round, 6th round, and 7th round. I will say the amount of pictures that exist of these players is nil to almost none sometimes. So if you see one that has the Russian flag or a bunch of fans at a game, and I try to make it look like it was a hockey game, just cut me some slack, because the pictures of these players are very slim.
Yeah, theater of the mind. That's all.
Yeah, just make it up. Just play pretend.
Well, thank you, Nick. Thank you for coming on, and I'll see you Wednesday.
We'll see you Wednesday. We're going to have big show this week.
Yeah. All righty. Well, that's Nick Volano of Pucks and Pitchforks blog, editor-in-chief, chiming in. Beer Baron probably went to the bathroom.
That's what it seems.
I don't know where he went.
Yeah.
I don't know. There he is. There.
Yeah. So, but I got to tell you, we got one person in the waiting room, Jalen, and Matt Jr. gave instructions. Go to Zoom, type in blah, 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 the code number provided by Sam, and then Sam will let you in. I looked at Jalen's, I actually put him up in the wait from the waiting room, Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
He has a big Rangers logo right from the get-go.
Oh, well, guess who's not getting on the show?
Yeah.
Guess who's not getting on the show?
This is you.
Oh.
Yeah, Jalen. This is
You've been waiting a while? Guess you're going to be waiting a little longer then, huh?
Yeah. And not only that, we have spotters that were texting me, don't let Jalen in. Always trolls the podcast. This is a no troll zone.
Oh,
we don't like trolls.
I think I don't know, man. I think let him in. Let him try to say his piece, because you know what? The one thing I love is that, and I can speak for all of us here, is not only do we know our team, I pride myself in trying to know everything about all these other teams that are in our division, that are in the league. So that way, if I get into a conversation with somebody that tries to say, like, your team doesn't know how to play the hockey and they don't think, they're out of the playoffs already, and they try to say all these things and they use that weird accent, I can shut you down, because I know more about your team than you probably do. And you probably can't even name the top.
No. You want me to put Jalen on?
No.
Scotty's putting the kibosh on.
Yeah, I want a Devils fan on here. This is Let's Go Devils podcast. Sorry, Jalen.
Yeah. Go to hockey on tap and bother those guys.
Yeah, go say hi to Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah, go say hi to Billy.
Yeah.
He'll love you.
He'd be more than happy.
Actually, he's got the. Hang on, let me get mine. He's got the same thing. I saw he's got a Rangers one. And I got a Devils one. The big.
That's one of my favorite things about that is, like, it's just so obnoxious to be able to hold a drink. You know what I mean? Like, they made that. Somebody was like, "Let me make this thing just so you can hold your beer." It's like,
it's so ridiculous. I got it for Christmas one year. I don't even know.
Hey, Matt's saying let him in, man. Matt's saying let him in.
Matt's saying let him in.
Matt's saying let him in.
Matt's a hardcore fan. He shouted "Let's Go Devils" podcast on the boardwalk.
Hey, listen,
live.
Jalen just wants to talk hockey. Jalen just wants to talk hockey. I say you let him in.
Oh yeah.
We should have a group. We should have a group vote. We should have a
Let me
group
tell you
vote.
something. Let me tell you something over here. Huh?
All right, I vote to let him in, and if he starts saying something off the rails, you give him the old snippety snoo, and you get him out of here.
I got a Ryan Man cam. This is what he's doing right now.
See, Ryan Man saying no.
Ryan Man, we're gonna use that all the time, my friend.
Yeah.
Just live looking on Ryan.
Yeah. See, I just want everybody to know that this is really live, not fake live. See, Ryan Man is in Canada. Yeah, we're not fake live. We're not fake live at all. Yeah. So now he's blowing us kisses in the back room.
Let's talk to someone, but we'll make Jalen wait a little bit. Make him sweat.
All right. I'll be back. I'll be right back.
There's a lot of people that are saying don't let him in. There's a lot of people that are saying let him in. Hey, listen,
it's controversy.
It's a big controversy. I think I feel one way. Scotty feels the other way. Short Sky, I think you might be the deciding vote.
Great.
No pressure.
No, none at all.
Yeah, fan's a fan, you know?
You know what, Beer Baron? If you want to take the lead on this and you and him spar it out, but you know what?
I'm not looking to spar. If he says...
We let Billy Dean on.
Exactly, and if Jalen wants to talk hockey, we'll talk hockey. But if he starts getting a little, I got the Rangers, I'm gonna just listen, pal. Get out, take a hike.
Give him a shot.
I'm not in the mood to debate, but I will tell you what, I will let anybody talk hockey. That's the one thing that is our common denominator, right? No matter what team you root for, the one thing that I could always say is, hey, at least you're a hockey fan, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. By the way, Scotty, you remember those big green Hulk hands that were kind of like that big drink?
Oh yeah,
Hulk smash. Step Brothers.
There was a band from Boston, a hardcore band, and their singer cut a hole in one of them and shoved the microphone in it, and that's how he sang the entire set. Was with those Hulk hands and the microphone in one of them. I'll send you the video.
Hulk hands.
It's phenomenal.
Who did that?
All right, so I have Jalen. I have Jalen up. No, but it's just a Rangers logo. He won't show his face. It's just a Rangers logo.
You can't say no, Jalen. If you want to be on, you got to show your face, man. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. We're not repping the Rangers logo at all.
Oh, he's there. All right.
All right.
It's cool. All right. Hold on a sec. Jalen, just hold on one sec. He's wearing his Rangers T-shirt. Hold on.
Lord.
Let me just fix the graphics here. Let's see. It's Jalen and let's say Rangers fan. What's so funny?
The adjectives.
No, I picture the gears turning in your head. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So on the Nova Product Design hotline via Zoom, we took a collective vote and let Jalen on to talk hockey. Jalen, you're on the Let's Go Devils podcast. How are you, man?
Hey, first of all, I want to say I was a big advocate of bringing you on. Thank you for changing from the Rangers logo to your actual face. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Beer Baron. We appreciate it.
So what's going on, man?
What's going on, Jalen? How you feeling?
You guys want to talk to me?
Yeah.
How you guys feel about the draft lottery?
So, all right. So this is a good question because being a Rangers fan, I want to ask you a serious question. Are you going to root for your team to win this first round to get past the Hurricanes so you can advance into the playoffs? Or are you going to root for your team to lose with the possibility of getting that first overall pick?
Yeah.
Ah, man. I really don't know. I obviously want my team to beat Carolina, but, to get that first overall pick. I mean, I guess I'm going to have to go with us beating Carolina.
Okay.
You know,
because
That's a
there's a
true
chance
fan.
that we might not get the first overall pick.
So, you know what? In an honest opinion, that is. If I were in your shoes, if the Devils were in the Rangers' position, I would actually want the Devils to advance into the second round because the opportunity of trying to win the Stanley Cup is a lot bigger than the first overall pick because we've seen in the past that first overall pick could turn out to be a nobody, right?
True.
But this also happens to be one of the
Yeah,
deepest
so
drafts
you guys
in,
know.
history.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that, I know it's tough for you guys right now, but, it's going to get better.
That's
okay.
It's true.
Appreciate that. Now, do you live in the city, Jalen? Are you around from here?
I live in Upper Manhattan.
Oh, okay. How long have you been a Rangers fan?
My whole life. Well, at least seven. Yeah, I guess my whole life. Ever since I
that's
can
pretty
remember watching hockey.
And
were you like?
I was going to say,
We all know what it
they are your local team, so I you know what, I have no qualms about that. You gotta root for your local team, and living in Manhattan, that's who it is, man. So I have no issue with that.
Thanks. A lot of people
What's
don't
your?
like us, but
Go ahead.
no, I don't know why people don't like us, but
Hey, we say the same. Like anytime a Ranger fan gives a Devils fan a lot of crap, we always wonder the same thing. Like, especially if they're from New Jersey, we're like, aren't you rooting for the wrong team? You're in the wrong state.
You know what, Jalen? Do you know why I like you? I'll tell you a reason why I like you. Because out of all the people we've had on, you've got the clearest picture. You must have rich man internet over there in
Best
Manhattan.
connection.
Yeah, best connection.
Manhattan.
I wish
Manhattan,
our fans
that's
could have that kind of connection through Zoom.
Yeah, this is by far the best connection that we've had so far all night.
And we have to give our good friend Matt a lot of credit because not only was I trying to get you on because, like I said, anybody that likes hockey, we're all one big family, and it doesn't. At some points, it doesn't even matter what team you're rooting for because hockey is the greatest sport in the world. We can all agree on that. But we have to give a big shout out to our buddy Matt because he really pushed. I think he might have pushed Sam a little bit more to get you onto the podcast. You have to understand, having a Rangers fan on the podcast is a little strange for us. We had Billy Dean on, who's doing a podcast, and that was a little weird. But Ranger fans, it seems like in this pandemic, all of us are kind of in that same boat where we just miss the game. We want to watch it. And my question to you, Jalen, is how did you stumble upon our podcast?
Well, to be honest with you, I was watching, what was it? I think it was a fight between, I think, Brendan Lemieux and Miles Wood. And then I was scrolling through YouTube, and then I found you guys.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
You guys out.
Okay.
And then,
Are you one of the haters of me on YouTube? I always get hated. People always make fun of me on YouTube.
It's true.
I understand why.
They hate me on YouTube. And I don't like them either. But I like you, Jalen. I hope we
Yes.
get to meet one day because, again, we on October 17th, I believe, we did our live event, Devils versus Rangers at Prudential Center, and a group of Ranger fans came in. And we were like,
we thought it was going to be bad.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be bad. Body Armor was coming on, fists, stare downs. Turned out to be the really cool guys. Everybody's a hockey fan, drinking beers, hating on other Flyer fans.
And we can all agree on this, that we all hate the Flyers, right?
That's true.
Yeah, they kiss their sisters down there in Philadelphia.
Sam.
This is really cool. Well, Jalen, you are welcomed anytime on Let's Go Devils podcast. And sorry about the screening. We have very stringent rules. When I was trying to put you up, I saw the big Rangers logo. I thought you were trolling. But I apologize because you definitely earned
It's a good man.
your way onto the podcast. Thank you for zooming in. And stay safe.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
All right, thanks,
Thank you,
Jalen.
Jalen. Hey.
That's Jalen from Manhattan. Rangers fan, desperate for hockey content. So desperate he comes onto the Let's Go Devils podcast because we do it live. Live, not fake live. Live.
Right.
Real live. And anybody that's been on tonight can attest to that. And I got to say, this has been one of my favorite things that we've done in a long time. We've talked to some really cool people. We've talked to Doc Emmerich. We've talked to Chico Resch, who invited us onto his boat. We've talked to Cam Jansen. We've talked to some like really amazing people. This has been my favorite part, is like zooming with like real people with other fans. And like, you know, that's because that's who we are. Sometimes you get lost in like talking to somebody else. You're like, I don't know what their lives are really like, but I can relate to a fan. I'm like, yeah, I drink a beer just like you. I put my pants on one leg at a time.
Yeah, and
When
that
I'm done,
bottom,
I make gold records.
and that bottom right-hand corner, right-hand corner,
Live.
we're live. Because if we were fake live, it would say this. Fake.
Oh, okay. I saw that. I saw Flive. I saw Flive. There it was. Yeah.
Fly.
I like Flive.
Oh, hold on a sec.
Flive.
See, if we were fake live, we'd be like this.
Oh, God.
This is all pre-recording. Hey,
Yeah.
let's
If it's
figure
fake
out.
Hey.
if it was fake live, you'd be like, oh, wasn't that a great draft lottery? Oh, that was.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Somebody's
I can't believe
gonna
we
get
got
one on you.
It would be like that episode from The Simpsons where they go to Camp Krusty and the bad overdub. It's like, hey, I can't believe we got the number 7 draft pick. Who would have known that the number 1 pick went to a mystery team?
Yeah, right.
Now that's fake live. Fake live.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's-
I mean,
That's a great
live.
episode. That's a
yeah,
great
see,
episode.
Flive.
it's so sunny right now, even though it's 10:20 p.m. Eastern.
Hey,
But
Eric,
fake live.
Eric on the Facebook group just said we call it live in the TV biz. Eric, do you do TV business? And if so, why don't you try Zooming us to see how live it really is?
Yeah, and you know what? Is that why they call him Tim? Because he is.
Oh, Tim Callahan.
Yeah,
He's
let's take
back.
Tim.
He's back.
Tim,
He's
get on
back.
the Zoom.
He's back.
Get on the Zoom.
He's back.
Tim.
Tim's on the Zoom.
Oh, that's Moose
Get
that
on the-
said live. Yeah. Well, we're live. All right, Moose, get your butt into
Sam
Zoom.
knows. He said Sam knows.
I know Moose.
Rebecca?
Yeah, no.
No, not that Moose.
Oh,
No,
different moose?
This
Multiple
Moose.
mooses.
Yeah.
This Moose.
I thought that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah.
This is a former teammate, former
Yes.
opponent.
He and I used to be called on the fat line, FATT line, the fat line, because we blocked the goal. We screened the goaltenders like nobody else, right? Right, shorts guy.
I know.
You can't even see through us. Can't see it. And all of our groupie fans and all those chubby chasers.
He did say
All right,
champions.
wow.
He did say champions.
Wow.
Yeah,
He
champions.
did say champions. Champions. That's what he said.
Champions.
Live on air. Live. He
This
said
is
champions.
live. We are live.
Yeah.
Not fake live. Live.
That would have
Hey,
been
you know-
edited out if we weren't.
There's lots of and that's the fun thing is there's lots of things that would have been edited out. And if you don't think this is live, you should go to some of the previous episodes when we've had people just forget that they're on live camera and just dropping whatever they want to drop. But like the time that I said, never mind. But
Oh, you?
hey,
Starting
honestly,
Taylor
what-
Hall conspiracies?
hey, but you know what though? The thing that Nick brought up about bringing Taylor Hall back, and I know he was kind of saying that, Scotty, you brought up a great point, and you sent us sent a screenshot. The Devils only have $8 million in fan cap. That's all they can give us is $8 million in fan cap.
That's what they ended up. We got got to see because they're going to have some money deductions from like Wayne Simmons going, Taylor Hall going. Yeah. We got to look. So it's probably Nick was probably a little closer, but I don't know if it's 24-25 like he was saying. And it might be a little less than that.
Jenna just said on the Facebook group, she said live witness podcast. Yeah, that's what happens sometimes. And one of my friends, Lisa's watching, and Lisa, you missed it. We had a Ranger fan actually call in and Zoom into the thing. So we're all inclusive. We have like Ranger fans. We have Ranger fan podcast join us recently. It's just been weird. Mm-hmm. It's been pandemic times have been weird times.
It's 2020. A placeholder team has the first overall pick.
Yeah, what a bunch of malarkey.
What else? 2020. Yeah, like
2020, the year that just said.
You thought you could get normalcy in a friggin' draft lottery, and you can't even get it there. Man.
Is there video of this draft lottery? Like, is there actual video?
No.
See, of course not. And that's where the conspiracy theories.
Oh, Sam, that's a great point because all it was is a picture of Gary Bettman when he was giving his interview, which I thought was great. The machine was behind him. Gary wasn't wearing a mask. He might be compromised. So I'm just saying maybe he was in the room by himself, and instead of like turning the machine on, he just take the things out and he laid them on the table and he goes, "That seems about right."
I don't know why they can't. I don't know why
Montreal.
I don't know why they can't just select the ping pong balls live on camera. Put them
live or live.
Live. Do it like the way that. Do it like the way the Champion League seedings happen. You have a big group of people. You have four. At this point, it would be a one bowl with all the potential teams in little ping pong balls. You swirl it around, pick it out, open it up, show who it is right there on camera. Don't just bring in a bunch of cards and say, "Hey, this is what we picked in the back room. We promise it wasn't rigged at all."
Yeah.
Oh, there's no team. Wow, look at this drama. Tune in about 3 weeks for another draft. It's like, come on.
I love that you say
they're just like, they're just there like they have the 8 cards and they just put them on a table. They're like, all right, let me close my eyes and just mess them up, and then we'll just put them back in order real quick. There
it's
we
like
go.
The drunk friend. It's like the drunk friend when you're playing cards that doesn't know how to shuffle a deck and just spreads them across the table and gathers them all back in. It's like, come on, dude. We know you just put them together and shuffle them, you moron. Come on, Gary. Get your stuff together. If you let a team from New York win this draft lottery, you're fill in the blank, Gary. Come on.
Show that. You know what? Where's the video? Show the ping pong balls.
Where's the beef?
Show this mysterious 8th team coming out of nowhere to get the top pick from, taking away from teams that need it.
I picture in my head the 8th team GM sitting in the back corner with a cigar like a bad guy from like a Batman cartoon, you know what I mean? Where you just see like the glow of the cigar like kind of going. And he's like, yes, enter that 8th card in. And guess who's getting the number 1 pick? And Gary Bettman's kid's like in a chair like duct taped together or something like that.
Penguin just
See, the conspiracy theory works perfectly for that.
Oh, it does. There's conspiracy theory all over this. This is just.
I think
God! Done by the NHL is just dumb. It's dumb, and I'm not even like I said. I'm not bitter that we didn't get the number 1. I mean, I am, but I'm more upset that the NHL screwed this up, just to potentially get more drama, to get more people to watch something later on.
Yeah, dude. I listen. Hey. This is our opportunity. If you're watching live right now on any of the platforms, if you're watching live on Facebook, if you're watching live on any of the different platforms, call in. Do you see the little Zoom number?
Scott, it's live. Sorry.
Live. If you're watching live. If you're for real live, be for real live. Call that little Zoom number on the side and have an actual interaction with us because we're curious to see, and not just from Devil's points of view, obviously that's what we want, but from anybody's point of view, if you're watching live, call into Zoom and let's hear what you got to say, because honestly, this has been like in the very beginning, it was like I'm pissed off and I'm mad because we didn't get the first like top. I was hoping we'd sneak into the top 3. You know what I mean? But to get bumped back from 6 to 7 sucked. I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
And then to give the number 1 overall pick to a team that gets a chance to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just,
yeah, exactly.
And then hearing Nick talk earlier and actually say it out loud that we may not see Devils hockey till January.
Oh, God.
Like, come on. Like, this is just it's a kick in the teeth.
They should have put like a limit, like it could only, that mystery team could only get so high. That should have been the thing.
Yeah.
Like they should not have been allowed to get into the top 3. Like if they were going to pull that crap, they had to pick it before.
And not to be kind of like whatever, but I'm really curious to see what the like. So if there's a team that's already like Nashville, or like a team that's already in the playoffs that none of this really matters to them. That's not going to be that bubble team. That's not going to be that top 8 team. I would love to hear their point of view about all of this. Like, are we being bitter? Are we being just very biased and saying like this sucks because we're in the position that we're in? Or is there a team like, I don't know, like a Boston fan? Is there some Boston fan up there in Beantown that's going, that's fine. Who cares? They don't care about these guys. Like, who gives a crap? Like, I want to know what their point of view about how this played out. Because if it's across the board, if people that are rooting for teams that it doesn't affect them have the same point of view that we do, that'd be pretty interesting. But outside of that, right now, all we can go is based off of what we feel.
Well, Schwim said when he was on with Billy Dean and Little Steve earlier, he wasn't for it, and he's a Tampa Bay fan, and they're in.
Yeah.
You know, he thinks it's dumb.
That's a good point.
You know, and that, you know, we only had that one example tonight, but I'll bet, you know, looking at some, let me see, because I know my hockey team was talking about it. Let's see. I got a Stars fan that thinks it's stupid. So yeah, I want to say that's a common thought that it's, you know, kind of around the, you know, fans around the league, that this was just a dumb move. Mm-hmm. You know what? If you want to put more drama, pull it live. There's your drama.
You know what? Yep. And I know this was proposed by a few people across the internet. I think Short Sky brought this up a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, or whenever, that the losing teams, these bottom 7 teams, because they're going to be away from hockey for so long, should have been given the opportunity to play like even a mini tournament to win the first overall pick. Do something completely different. Like, screw the lottery system. Have a little mini tournament between those top 7 teams, and the team that wins, like, reward the team that wins that little tournament and give them the number 1 overall pick. That would have been a billion times better than what we got.
I am 100% in agreement there. I thought that was a fantastic idea, Short Sky.
Yeah, and too bad the NHL screwed it up. However, I did get good news this week, guys. I got fantastic news. My hockey rink opens up on July 2nd.
Yeah, buddy.
I get to play hockey again starting next week. And
very cool,
I
man. Very cool.
I may also show up on Sunday Live from an alternate location.
Oh, okay.
Ooh. Yeah.
Ooh.
Potentially with a friend of the podcast. You never know.
And
not a
Short Sky, the rich man internet is down there, down at the shore.
I know.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm. So if I show up on Sunday, it's going to be from an alternate location. Could be in the great outdoors.
Oh, is Dan Aykroyd going to be your guest?
No, unfortunately not.
Got these lobster tails.
However,
we want to thank.
I will.
Go ahead.
Like I said, it would be a random location. Anyway, sorry. Sorry, Sam, that was going nowhere. Go ahead.
Want to thank Nick Villano for coming on. We want to thank all the fans zooming in. Ryan, Matt screaming our name. Jalen. It was a pleasant surprise. Rangers fan. Turned out he was really cool.
Jersey Joe.
The boys at Hockey on Tap.
Yeah.
We'll
And
figure
we're
this
getting better
one.
at this. Yeah, we're going to get better at this.
We'll see you Sunday. Till next time, let's go Devils.
All right. Are we